What's happening with crime and demographic shifts in Thailand's nightlife areas? Is it risky to cover politics and current events here? What did the recent election change for visitors and expats? Who's shaping policy behind the scenes? And what does living in Thailand really look like in 2026? I'm Cal, and this is part 2 of our monthly Q&A, where I answer your questions. And today we're talking content creation, news, controversial topics, and some of the reasoning behind policy shifts here in the country. In recent months, headlines out of Thailand's major nightlife hubs appear increasingly dominated by stories of crime, conflict, and social friction, often including specific groups. And it raises a broader question: is Thailand changing, or is there something else at play? First, an uptick in negative nightlife coverage is nothing new. We're well into the tourism high season, and with higher arrival numbers comes a predictable rise in incidents and the headlines that follow. It's a pattern that tends to repeat itself year after year. But when it comes to headlines, it's important to be a little bit cautious, because the truth is that inserting a specific nationality into a headline dramatically increases engagement. It drives clicks, comments, and shares, which leads to more revenue for media companies and content creators, and it's become a very effective social media strategy, but it's often misleading. For example, in early 2025, a video showing men sleeping on Pattaya Beach began circulating online, paired with headlines that blamed Indian tourists and framed the scene as evidence of declining standards. The story spread rapidly despite a total lack of verification, amplified through clickbait headlines and AI-generated thumbnails, but it later emerged that the men were neither Indian nor tourists. Instead, they were migrant workers from neighboring countries, and the incident was a one-off situation entirely unrelated to Indian visitors. And this is increasingly the norm for media content, which typically lacks any editorial fact-checking or consequences. And social media has an amplifying effect, where single criminal acts or incidents of bad behavior tend to go viral, gaining disproportionate attention. But that dynamic doesn't just apply to nightlife headlines. Thailand recently held an election, and before a new government was even formed, visa rules were already in the spotlight, with an announcement that the visa exemption period of 60 days was under review, with a potential reduction to 30 days. But if tourism accounts for approximately 20% of the Thai economy, and growth is already under pressure, what's really driving this announcement, and does it point towards a less welcoming stance towards foreigners? For anyone who follows the Thai online landscape closely, the speed of the recent policy review announcement has not been especially surprising. Much like Western audiences, Thai social media feeds are also increasingly saturated with negative content, and this frequently includes viral clips of tourists fighting, stealing, or behaving disrespectfully. Each incident racks up millions of views, and a common refrain in the comment sections is "free visa tourists," which has become something of a slogan which faults easy visa policies for highly visible social frictions. The reality is that most of these viral clips come from a handful of concentrated nightlife zones, primarily in Pattaya and Phuket. And in truth, those areas have always been associated with tourism high season chaos, but now they're filmed, packaged, and pushed into everyone's update feed on a constant basis, rather than confined to the margins. That doesn't necessarily mean this particular government is more or less hostile toward foreigners. Rather, it reflects an attempt to balance competing pressures. On one hand, the economic importance of tourism, and on the other, growing domestic demands for more oversight. And this dynamic isn't unique to Thailand. Similar opinion shifts have unfolded in Western countries around migration debates, and in places like Japan as tourism volumes surged. And there are also wider international pressures shaping policymaking in Thailand, largely in response to the rapid growth of scam networks throughout Southeast Asia. Global cybercrime losses are now estimated to exceed $50 billion annually, with the United States alone accounting for well over $10 billion in reported losses, while scam networks linked to Chinese organized crime frequently targeted Chinese nationals with fraudulent job offers that lured victims into compounds where they were forced to work as scammers. Thailand has been used as a logistical node within these networks, especially through the use of mule bank accounts to receive and transfer funds extracted from victims, while more permissive entry rules in previous years also made it easier for individuals linked to these networks to move between Thailand and major scam hubs in Cambodia and Myanmar. With major global economies and financial institutions affected, it's likely that there was significant pressure to tighten financial and visa controls, and enforcement measures in Thailand unfolded alongside crackdowns across the region. So it's safe to say that the government is under dual domestic and international pressures to tighten and securitize policies. And all the fake news raises yet another key question. Is there a risk of a crackdown on social media content or creators? During the recent conflict with Cambodia, the Thai Ministry of Digital Economy and Society set up an agency to monitor social media content following a flood of misinformation and spam comments. The agency recently highlighted a spike in misinformation about visa and entry rules after several media outlets and content creators circulated claims that Thai authorities had imposed a strict 2 entry limit on visa-exempt entries, which was false. And that incident points to increasing scrutiny of online content beyond the border conflict. While there have been no broad enforcement crackdowns targeting creators, the regulatory climate could evolve, especially given Thailand's existing legal framework. Under the Computer Crimes Act, authorities have wide-ranging and highly interpretive powers over online content, including the uploading or dissemination of false information that is likely to cause damage to an individual or the public, as well as content deemed harmful to national security, public safety, critical infrastructure, economic stability, or which is likely to provoke public panic. While defamation laws allow prosecution for any content that is deemed to harm reputation. These laws are both broad and vague, and there's definitely a risk of stricter enforcement as attention shifts to managing online content, but for now, there haven't been any major crackdowns. And before we go, I want to give you a quick update on the channel and what to expect in 2026. I started this channel just over 2 years ago, and during that entire time, I've been working full-time as a teacher at an international school here in Bangkok. It's been a great job and one I've genuinely enjoyed. But the point has come where I need to decide which path I want to pursue long-term. And next month, I'll be stepping away from teaching to focus on content creation full-time. And that shift will open up a significant amount of time, energy, and flexibility going forward. And there are 3 main areas I want to expand coverage. First, we'll have more voices on the channel, including more sit-down interviews with people who are doing interesting things, have specialized knowledge, or who simply live here and want to share their experiences. Those secondary voices will help round out the bigger picture far better than a single viewpoint ever could. Second, there'll be more timely coverage with updates on what's happening in Bangkok and across Thailand, including events, activities, or anything that directly affects residents and visitors. Third, I'll continue covering more in-depth, deep dive topics, including an upcoming video on the Thai bot and why it's remained so resilient. And finally, we'll add broader regional coverage, including an expansion into other cities around Thailand and throughout the region, mainly focused on travel guides and information. I've lived in Bangkok for nearly 11 years and traveled extensively during that time, so I'd like to start sharing more of that accumulated knowledge. If there are any topics, destinations, or issues that you'd like to see me cover, let me know in the comments section. Thank you for all the support over the past couple of years, and as always, have a great day.